Hello everyone and welcome, it's Shanna. Now if you watched yesterday's videos, you saw me make these 4 KCC sketch cards using Love from Lizzie. Now today we're going to be making 6 more, and this is going to be a little bit longer video, but I'm going to turn these 6 sketches into fun folds. So I'd encourage you to follow along to the end so that you can just see the different ways that I modify these sketches and turn them into fun folds. So I'm basically got all of my elements here for my first card. I cut all of the panels according to the cutting guide, and so I'm just going to make my modifications with the materials that I've already cut. So I've got this yellow panel, and I'm going to lay it down as my first layer. And right now I'm working on card sketch 5. I did the first 4, and this is 5, and I've got the elements, and I'm just going to get them laid down on here. So we've got the 2 pieces of patterned paper that you're going to lay down on your layer. And we're going to get both of those laid down on there. And then once we get that laid down, then we're going to bring in the fun fold element for it. And I'm just using the sketches and the measurements on the sketches to create the fun fold. So this fun fold here is the black layer piece, and then the yellow is the white. And I've just cut my little card, my little blue card down to the measurements according to the sketch. And this is where we're going to get our fun fold on this one. It's going to be a double flip card. And so we'll just glue this down just like we would, the panel according to the sketch. And now we're just going to get it decorated up. So I've got all of my little Love from Lizzie elements here. And I'm just going to find some things that kind of go with the pattern paper. It had some balloons in there, and I thought that'd be super cute, so I'm going to lay them down on here, and it's very matchy-matchy. Now the sketch calls for another little element that's going to hang off of the bottom right-hand corner of the card, and I was just toying around with, do I want it on the inside or outside? But I'm going to stick it on the outside, much like the sketch calls for. Now it does show a circle, but it says any object. So I'm taking this tag that was included in Love from Lizzie and a piece of scrap paper that I used a little die and just die cut a little shape out, and I'm going to add it on there. I'm snipping off this white tag because I want to use some of the pink and white baker's twine that was included in the kit for the tag, and I'm just going to thread it through there and just make a nice little bow, and then we'll lay this down on there. And it'll make some interesting interest to this card, just a little extra pop, and I'll use up some more of the materials that were included in the kit. Now I had previously embossed a Best Day in some raspberry embossing, and I'm still fooling with that, but I'm going to lay it on the outside. And I'm just going to use this because I had already done it on another video, and I'm going to use it, and we'll get it laid down on there. Now we've got the inside of that first flip card, and I'm going to bring in some ephemera and add it to that. And my goal is to really try and use up as much of this ephemera as possible. So I'm going to adorn the insides of my cards with lots of ephemera so that I can use it up. Now I have some big bunting and banner type elements that are included as well, and I've got these balloons here, and I'm going to lay them down on the inside and use up one of these big pieces of ephemera. And it hangs off the edge of my card base, so I'm going to just grab my big scissors and just snip off what's hanging off there. And I think it looks really pretty on the inside, and we've got a great birthday card. Or any other kind of celebration, I guess. I didn't put a reference to birthday in there, but we've got things that look birthday. So now we're going to move on to sketch 6, and this is sketch 6. And we're going to make it a fun fold as well. Now this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. I've got a top folding card, and I've got my 2 panels that I'm going to lay down here on my metallic matte cardstock from Love from Lizzie. And we're going to get them laid down on there. And I'm going to wait to add the other elements because we're going to make a cut. So we'll get that laid down on there, try and get it nice and neat. And then I'm going to grab my Cricut trimmer instead of my guillotine. And I'm going to just try and get like an 1/8 of an edge border around that donut paper on the bottom, and that came out pretty good. And then I'm going to, I actually measured that, and then I'm going to cut that much off of my card base from the bottom. And then we're going to lay this down on the inside of the card base. It's not lining up exactly right, so I'm going to, I think when I cut it, I didn't pull my guillotine lever in, and so it was a little bit off. So I'm just going to trim it up again, get that little smidge off of there, and then we're going to lay our panel down on the inside of the card. And now we're going to bring our panel back in, and we're going to lay it down just like we would if we had kept the, the panel whole. And I just gave it a little score there to try and get it lined up right. And I'll put some glue down on it, and we'll get this laid down on our panel. And now we've got another fun fold with the sketch, elements being the same. So there we go. Now I'm going to add my other pieces to it. This has got a lot of layering on it. We've got, a larger square and then two smaller squares, and we're going to layer them all up, and we're going to put a strip in between them. So I've got the specialty glitter cardstock from Love from Lizzie. It actually has pill off and it has tape on the back of it, but because I'm hanging over my other panel, I didn't want to pull the backer sheet off, so I just glued it and laid it down. And I'm going to lay this other strip of pattern paper, as part of the cutting guide, down there, and I've kind of got some glue I'm trying to clean up a little bit. And we'll get that laid on there. And then we're going to layer those other two squares together. I'm bringing in some more of that matte metallic in the hot pink, and I brought in a scrap from the other cardstock that I'd used when I made other cards, not this particular set, and just used it. And then we'll get that centered on there. And we've got a nice little flip on there. And so now I'm just going to kind of look at my ephemera and see what I think I might put on there. I've got this little tiny gift, and I thought, well, I could put that on there. And then I've got Best Day, which I had already stamped and embossed, heat embossed previously, and I'm going to use those. And I decided to go with the hat. I haven't used the party hat yet, and I thought I could just lay it on the diagonal and kind of fill up this space, and then just put my Best Day on top of it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I am going to use that little package. I'm just going to bring it in and glue it in the upper left-hand corner, and we'll just have some ephemera on the inside of our card. And then that will finish off this fold. And I think that's really fun. So next we're going to go to card sketch 7, and I've got all of my elements there. And I'm going to modify it a little bit by using, well, first, let's see. I think I'm going to get this laid down on my card base. I'm just figuring out what I'm going to do here first. You have more panels, and I had 2 panels. I really should only have 2 pieces of pattern paper here according to the sketch. But I had cut when I originally cut it, I cut the one too short and messed it up, and I had to bring in another piece. I thought I was going to fill in with it, but I'm not going to use them because I'm going to use this big balloon banner on here. So I'm just going to take the largest piece of cardstock that the sketch calls for. It's paper B, and lay it down on there. And then it calls for paper C and then a half of a circle. And I'm going to use the bunting for that. And here I'm bringing in my Cricut trimmer, and I'm just creating a gatefold. So I just used it and created a gatefold there. And I'm going to lay this bunting, balloon bunting down on here. And instead of having the half circle go the other direction, I'm just kind of mimicking it upside down. So we've got our half circle at the top instead of the bottom. And so I think that still kind of follows the sketch. And we've got our little gatefold here. And we can just bring in some more ephemera and decorate the inside of it as well. I thought I would bring in actually the pattern paper that I didn't use, the 2 pieces. I thought, well, I'll just lay one at the bottom. We'll put one at the top. And then we'll have an area to write our message. And we've used all of those scraps of paper. So that'll finish off that card, and I think that one's fun too. So I'm going to actually bring in my stamp set, and I'm going to take the happiest of birthdays, and I'm going to stamp on this yellow cardstock, and this was included in the kit. I've got just strips of it left, and I'm going to stamp on this, and we're going to get this laid down on here. Now, I touched it, and I made a little tiny bit of a smear on there, and it's not bad enough that I'm not going to use it. I am going to use it, and I'm just trying to be careful. I use that VersaFine Clair Nocturne, and it needs a minute to dry. Usually I will emboss that ink because it does need a minute to dry. So I'm just going to cut this down with my Tim Holtz scissors. You can get a nice straight line with those. And we're going to use this. I'll actually bring in an alcohol 0 marker and try to clean it up a little bit. And it does help a little bit. And I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to try again. And I think I'll get all that ink off there, and it won't be a problem. But I think you can barely see it. So that pretty much takes care of that card. But I did, like I said, run and grab my alcohol marker and just kind of rub it along that edge there. And I brought that extra piece of white paper to kind of clean it off. But I think that worked fairly well. So there we've got 3 of our fun folds, and we're going to keep going. We're going to do 3 more. And this next one is Sketch 8. And I have taken that metallic matte cardstock and used an embossing folder from Spellbinders. I think it's November of last year's embossing folder. And it's a streamer one. And I thought it would be fun with this party-themed kit. So, and I actually did both panels. I did this, I don't know exactly what color you'd call that. Almost, it's like a gold or a pewter, I think. And then I'm going to layer my ice cream paper on this purple cardstock. Just trim it out according to the sketch. And we'll get that laid down on there. And then I'm going to bring in another dual flip. And this one's actually 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So it's a bigger flip than what the other one was. And we'll get the purple cardstock laid down on there. And then I'm struggling getting it lined up. So I'll just try and redo it. And then I'm going to bring in another layer of that matte metallic, and I have embossed it as well. So we'll get it laid down on our purple. And I thought it was fun just repeating that embossing folder. So now we've got another flip. And I've got some scrap paper there that is to be made into a banner. And so I'm going to fishtail it, and we'll lay it in the upper left-hand corner according to the sketch. And then I've got some balloons here that I'm thinking about using. I actually have that bow. It's upside down, up just above and to the right of my card. I've got a bow that I had previously stamped, heat embossed, and colored. And this sketch calls for something in the lower right-hand corner. And so I was thinking I'd use that bow, but then I remembered I wanted to put the bow on the balloons. And I'm just going to bring in, I think I'm just going to wind up bringing in a different cake and putting it on there. And we'll lay the cake down flat, and we'll use some foam tape and pop the balloons up. And we're going to let them hang over the corner of the edge, and that's going to be the any shape that the sketch calls for. It actually shows a circle, but it says any shape. So we'll do that and get it laid on there. And we've just turned this one into another fun fold. Just peel off the backers and get it laid down on there. And then for the inside of this, I'm going to do something different. And I kind of playing around with it. And included in the kit are 2 little bags, like little clear, well, almost like vellum bags. They're not vellum, but it's, maybe it is a heavier vellum, I don't know. But you've got these little like envelopes that you could put something in. The one that I'm using here is too big, so I'm going to cut it down and actually cut it down twice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a gift card insert for this inside this card. And I felt like it got lost on that white, so I'm going to bring in some scrap purple that I had laying there that I'd used before. I've die cut out a piece, and it seems to be the right size, so I'm just going to cut it down. And we're going to back our envelope here with this purple just so that it'll kind of have a landing spot on the white and our envelope won't get lost. And we'll get that laid down on there nicely. And we've got our little envelope. And I'm just going to use my tape runner for it so that I don't have like a gluey mess on the back of it that shows through. And I'll just give it a good press and get it laid down in there. And now I've got a nice little pocket. I can put something in. And so I'm going to stamp on here. I'm going to get the stamp set out and pick another sentiment and put on there. And for this one, I will choose Let's Celebrate is what I'm going to choose for this one. And I'm just going to get it laid down on my block, and we're going to use that same ink, and I'm going to be more careful this time to allow it to dry. And I'm going to cut it down. And we're going to bring in some ephemera for it. I just think it would look better if we had something on there. And I haven't used the hat yet, so I'm going to use this little birthday party hat. And I'm kind of fanning that Let's Celebrate to make sure it's dry before I smear it. And I'm just going to lay it on here. And then we can put a gift card inside there. I'm going to grab just a little business card that had a little note on it and show you that you could just slide a gift card right in there, and that'd be a great way to do it. So I'm going to move on to the next one. We've got 2 more left to do. So I'm going to go to sketch 9. And this one we're just going to make just a, I don't know, I guess it is a gatefold, but it's, the same on both sides. And I'm just going to take my panel that was made according to the cutting guide and just cut it in half. And we're going to lay it down on our card base. We're going to have a little white edge around there. And we'll get these laid down on there. And I use that same embossing folder for this. And we'll just put it on each side. And this was a perfect sketch for this type of a fold. And then I'm going to layer this one up. And I noticed the piece that I had there was too big. I evidently didn't cut it correctly. So I'm just checking my measurement. And I'm going to cut it down. And I think I was a good ½ inch off on that. So we will layer this up. And we'll get it glued down. And then I'm going to lay it on my fold on the right side. And I tried to line it up with my metallic panel, and I don't know if my fold was off or what, but I've got, when I get it laid down, or maybe I laid it down, I don't know, I don't think I laid it down crooked, but anyway, you could see a little bit of that pink at the bottom on the right side, and I didn't like that. I was like, what happened? And I kept trying to fold it to see if it was like, if I'd folded it off or whatever. But what I'm going to do is bring in a piece of ephemera and tuck it down there so you won't see that. But before I do, I'm going to get my closure. For this, I'm just going to use hook and loop. I've got some little circle ones, and I stuck them together, and I'm just going to push down and then pull apart, and I've got them, so that way I can close it up with that, and it'll stay closed nicely. Now this is when I'm going to bring in some of those Love from Lizzie strips. I had planned on, instead of putting a colored panel behind that and making that be my you know, layer. I just put it on that white, and then I was going to bring these Love from Lizzie gold pill-offs on there, and I thought that looked really pretty, and I like how that looked. Now this is where I bring in my cupcake, and I'm going to set it right down there so it'll cover up that spot that I don't like where I've got the pink showing below my donut pattern paper, and then that'll take care of that little problem. And then I'm going to leave this card on the front alone. I like the way it looks, and I'm going to stamp happiest of birthdays on this metallic, and I wasn't sure how well it would stamp because it's glossy, and then we've got that ink that doesn't dry very quickly. So I thought I'll bring in some clear embossing powder, and I'll emboss it, and then we'll heat it up, and then we'll have a sentiment good to go that will work well on this glossy paper. So I'm just dipping it in a couple times and tapping off the extra, rubbing off any that I need to, and I'm going to get my embossing gun heated up, and we'll get this embossed. And it did curl a little bit on me, but I'm going to glue it down flat, so it'll be fine. But it did, that paper did curl quite a bit on me. I'm just shaking it. I don't want to touch it until I know it's good and cooled because I don't want to smear it. So I'm just going to let it sit for a minute, and then we'll get to working with it. So we're going to open this up, and I'm going to put some glue on it. I'm actually going to cut it down a little bit. It's too wide for my panel, just using those scissors. And we'll put some glue on there, and we'll get it laid down on our card, the inside of our card. And then since I've got all that extra ephemera, I'm going to bring in a piece of it, these candles, and I'm just kind of moving it around, seeing where I might want to stick it. I'm just going to put it right below the sentiment there. And we're making a good dent in this ephemera, so I'm real happy. Now the last card we're going to do is going to be sketch 10. And for this one, I'm going to do another little double flip. And I had previously cut for the first one, and I cut it too small. And amazingly enough, the size that I cut it was the right size for this sketch. So I didn't have my card base made, so I had to go and get my Score Buddy and create a card base for this. And for this one, I'm actually going to be able to bring in some of the floral ephemera that was included with the kit. And I've got a lot of that floral left because I haven't used it. But this pattern paper that I'm using here, it's not balloons or cupcakes or donuts or ice cream. And so I felt like I could bring in the floral elements with it. So I'm just going to lay this panel down. And then we've got some more of that matte. And this is the one where you do the diagonal cut on it. And I didn't quite cut these right, but it's not going to matter because, for one thing, it's flipped in the opposite direction. But so much of this is going to get covered up because of the layer that you put on there, so it'll be just fine. And of course, you can flip them and make them your own. You can, if they're portrait, you can make them landscape or whatever. That's one of the nice things about the challenge is you just make them your own. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to make this one my own, and it's going to be another double flip. So we're going to get those laid down on there. And I'm just using my tape runner because I was struggling so much with my glue bottle. I had to keep using the pen every time I wanted to glue something. So we'll get that laid down on there. And then I've got another little flip. And I'm going to take this. I'm just bringing in some scrap paper for my stash. This wasn't included in the kit. And I'm going to lay it down here on this white panel. And then this will give us an area for some of the floral ephemera to bring in. So I'll just lay that down on there, and it's not perfect, but I'm okay with it. And I'm going to line that up. Just trying to get it square on there. There we go. And then we'll just bring in a floral piece, and we're going to get it laid down on there. I think it's really pretty. and it works well with that background paper. And then because I haven't used any of that ephemera, I am going to use some more of it on the inside of this card. But for now, I'm following the sketch. The sketch shows 3 dots up, or, enamel dots or whatever, up at the top. And I'm going to use 3 of these rhinestones from the kit. And then I'm going to take liberty and add 3 more at the bottom because I've got several that I can use. And I kind of like the repeated pattern of it. And there we go. Now, we're going to bring something and lay on the inside. I'm going to use another floral piece, and it's a bit too big, so I'm going to cut it down, and then we'll get it laid down on the inside of our card. And it'll add just some additional interest to the inside of that flip, and I'll use up another piece of my floral ephemera. I had to cut it twice to get it small enough to where it wouldn't show. I thought about adding, I've got another one of those little envelopes, and I thought about adding it, but then I changed my mind. So we'll just lay this down. And then from that pink panel that's on the front there, I had cut away from a A2 size panel, and so I had a piece of it left, and I went ahead and stamped "Wishing you the best day." And I'm going to get it laid down on the inside of this. And I was thinking about using some bunting for it. In fact, I'll even cut this apart, but then I won't wind up using it because it didn't work well for me. But I've got another idea for the inside of it, and I'll go with it. So I was trying to figure out how I could make this work. I thought, well, I could put it at the bottom, but because I laid that panel down lower, thinking I was going to do something, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I'll actually change my mind, and I'm going to grab some more of that purple metallic matte cardstock because I had just a strip of that. I knew I had that, and it'll match the front of my card. And so I'm just going to use it, and I'll need to cut it down a little bit. And you can see it's on the front. So I'm bringing in some elements from the front of it, and I'm going to get it laid down on there. I realized it's too big. I'm snipping it, and we'll get it laid down on there. And so we kind of have matched the front of our card. And I've got this wooden, there were 3 wooden hearts that were included in the kit. And I decided to bring one of them in and to put some of that baker's twine and the purple and the white on it, and then hang it in there inside the card. And then the person could take it out and use it for a little decorative thing. And so I'm just going to put just a little bit of tape on there just to hold everything in place, and that'll finish off that card. So we have got 6 fun folds. So we've got sketch 5, sketch 6, seven. We've got a gatefold. We've got 8. We've got a double flip with a gift bag insert. We've got 9. We've got a little Velcro closure. And we've got 10. And I think it looks really cute. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.